Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jason. This is ArtOfCreationHomestead in the kitchen once more, okay? If you can handle it, just one more time in the kitchen. At least for the week, maybe next week too. Anyways, so today we're doing something a little special. Honestly, it really is. When Angela and I met, dropped the 1, carried the 5, slide the 2 over, 18 years ago or so, right? Actually 19 years ago. We met 19 years ago. But there was two things she sunk her claws into me with in the kitchen. All right, 2. It was a Black Forest cheesecake and this chicken Parmesan. Now it's been updated some since then, been made more us since then, but chicken Parmesan and toasted Orzo, okay, is what you're gonna see today. It's probably the best thing she cooks. And here it is. We'll bring it over here. She's gonna tell you how to do it, okay?
Are you trying to say that's the only good thing I cook?
I said the best. I've never had a bad meal in almost 18 years. Okay? Never.
Well, that's an impressive record.
Never. All right.
Okay.
Let's cook.
We're gonna start out with boneless, skinless chicken breast. I've trimmed up all the fat and stuff off of them, so they're ready to go, except for this. This is way too thick. You want it thin like this. This is one that I've already done.
Yep.
You want it thin like that.
Which is really appropriate, but you know, they're growing big these days.
So, how you want to do that, you want to put your hand flat on it. Take your thumb in. If you put that thumb down there, you're going to slice off one of your digits.
Come back missing a digit.
So, you want to make a horizontal cut like this. And just take it again, press a little harder. And now it will open up like a book, just a little bit. Now you can just keep following that line until you finish the slice. And see, now it's opened up like a book. Now, if something calls for butterfly chicken, that's what you'll do right there. Now, if it calls for filleted chicken, you do that.
No bones, but cutlets.
There you go.
More of a cutlet than...
There, now you've got 2 cutlets.
Yep.
Now, we're going to wash these nasty hands, and then I'm going to season the chicken a little bit.
Now guys, if you got a good woman, you can go catch some fish and she'll do that with your fish too.
Now we're going to season up this chicken just a little bit, because you're going to season every element, so you just want to season it just a little bit with a little bit of salt and pepper. Just season it just a little. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to go nuts with it. Just season it just a little bit. And now flip it over and season again, because I don't like one-sided tasting food. Now your chicken's all seasoned up. Now we're going to start our breading station. In this bowl we have 2 eggs. And by the way, you're not going to get that color in a yolk out of a store-bought egg. Aren't those beautiful? Thank you, ladies. Now you're going to beat that up really good. Now I'm about to do something you've probably not seen very many people do, because this is a different take on it. Most people dip their chicken in flour, then an egg, and then in their breadcrumb mixture. I'm eliminating a step. I'm taking about 2 good tablespoons of flour and putting it in with my eggs. And with my 2 eggs. I know that sounds a little crazy.
I didn't know you did this.
But it makes like a paste that will stick to your chicken really well. And it eliminates the step of having to dredge in the flour. Then you only have a 2-step dredging process.
I didn't know you did this. I learned something today. Looks like scrambled eggs now.
And see, now you've got like a paste. Now
it's oranger in person than it is on the camera. The camera makes it look a little more yellow.
It's very orange. And now you want to season that up too, with some salt and pepper. And mix that in. And then over here to the next station. This right here is about 2 cups of Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. If you don't have Italian seasoned breadcrumbs and all you have is regular breadcrumbs, just add some Italian seasoning to it. And we're going to add about a 1/2 cup of good Parmesan cheese to that. And because you can never have enough garlic, we're going to add about a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And once again, a little bit of salt and pepper. You don't want to go crazy with salt because Parmesan's very salty. So you don't want to go crazy with that. And I'm going to take my now clean hands and work this together. And now you want to flatten it out. I'll show you why I'm flattening it out in just a minute. And you will say, hey, that makes complete sense. This woman hasn't fell off her rocker. Now you have a wet hand and a dry hand.
Which one's wet?
Okay, so since the eggs are closest to my right hand, that's going to be my wet hand. My left hand's going to be my dry hand. So you pick up your chicken with your wet hand. Put it in your egg mixture. And see how well that's sticking? Because it's a paste, you see how well that's sticking to the chicken? See? You get a much more even coating this way. Instead of the egg getting all slimy and running off, you don't get that now. So now you put this over here. Now, you take your dry hand, and where I flattened it out, and I have it on wax paper. This way it keeps everything clean. And you can do this. Raise up your wax paper. Do that. And now you're coated. That way you can use your dry hand to flip it over, and your dry hand doesn't get goo all over it. And you don't become, as I call it, a goo monster. Now, you want to take your hand, pat some into it. You want a nice coating, so you want to pat it in. Now you shake off the excess, put it over here out of the way. And we're going to keep doing that, and we'll be back when I'm done. Okay, now we have a 13x9 baking dish here. I know we've only got 4 chicken cutlets here, but you want lots of wiggle room between each one. So if you're doing more than 2 chicken breasts, making 4 cutlets, you'll probably want to do it in 2 separate pans because you want lots of room. Now, I will tell you, you want to make extra of this chicken Parmesan because the next day it makes an amazing sandwich.
Great sandwich.
So, what we're going to be using for this is our home canned spaghetti sauce that we did last year. We did a video on it, and we'll leave a link in it, possibly even an iCard. So, now, what we're going to do, you want to spray your pan down with a little bit of hairspray. No, this isn't hairspray. I'm being silly. With a little bit of cooking spray. Now we're going to open up our jar of sauce. Hear that pop? And we're going to pour in some of this beautiful sauce. Now, if you don't have homemade, you can just use jarred sauce. It's fine.
Or you can make your own. You can make your own. It's okay. Nobody's judging you for using jarred sauce, okay? We'll forgive you just this once.
But this sauce tastes like homemade, and as you can tell,
it's brilliant sauce.
As you can tell, it's as thick as a jarred sauce.
It's brilliant. It's a delicious sauce.
And everything in this sauce came from our homestead. The garlic, the onions, the peppers, the tomatoes.
It did.
All of the vegetables came from our homestead.
Yep.
Now we're going to take you over to the stove, and we're going to start frying up these chicken breasts. Okay, in this skillet, this is a large 12-inch skillet.
Heat's on medium.
The heat's on medium. We have about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of a neutral flavored oil. I used canola, and about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. The reason I'm mixing the oils, I love the flavor of the extra virgin olive oil, but it has a very low smoke point and it will burn quickly. So the canola oil neutralizes that and brings up that smoke point. So you want to put your chicken in your nice hot skillet. You don't want to overcrowd it. That's why I'm doing a 12-inch skillet. But if you're doing a smaller skillet, just do 1 or 2 at a time. It doesn't take long. You're just doing it until they're nice and brown.
You're not trying to cook it through.
You're not trying to cook it through. You're just trying to brown it. Because brown food tastes a lot better than pale food.
It looks like catfish.
It does kind of look like catfish.
It looks like catfish. Well, I could eat some catfish.
Now it's nice and brown on one side, so we're going to flip it. See, isn't that gorgeous?
It looks good.
Now we're going to flip it over.
Any browning you get on the chicken is going to happen now. It's not going to brown in
No.
It's not going to brown there.
So you want to achieve your brownness now.
Yeah. You're making your crust, essentially.
Yes. And where I did the little egg and flour trick, your crust doesn't come off as easy.
No.
As you saw, it easily turned over without the crust coming off.
I mean, you can look in the oil. There's not a bunch of crust there in the oil.
But because you made that paste, it just stuck to the chicken so much better. Now this is just going to take a few more minutes, but you want to have your dish with your sauce in it right next to it. That way you can take them immediately out of the oil and into the sauce. Okay, as you can see, it's all beautifully browned up.
Nice. That's beautiful.
And you've got a really great crust.
That's a really nice piece of chicken.
You've got a really great crust because of that breading method. You've got a really great crust.
But don't bite into it. They're not cooked all the way through.
No, they're not cooked all the way. But they look good enough to eat right now.
Man.
So now you want to take some more of your sauce. You want to spoon it over your chicken. You don't want to kill it with sauce, but you do want some sauce there. Because you don't want it to be dry. Dry chicken Parmesan is bad. It's just bad. So you want to put a nice little layer, but you don't want to overdo it either, because too saucy is bad too. So, like I said, you want to make more than you think you'll eat.
Oh, that's so good.
Because tomorrow night, our supper's going to be chicken Parmesan sandwiches.
Oh.
I'll have to force Jason to eat it, but...
I'm twisting my arm. That's why my shoulder's sore.
I've twisted your arm so much.
Oh.
Okay. Now we've got a nice little coating of sauce on top of each one.
And that sauce will thin out some and when it gets hot. Remember
yes,
that,
it will.
So
now we're going to put a good layer of mozzarella cheese on. You want a good layer.
And one thing, honestly, like we like to try to cook every night. We want to have something in our meal that came from our land.
Yes.
Whether it's a pasta sauce that Angela made, or a side dish of beans or whatever. Something on our plate needs to come from our land every night. That's how we operate. We don't always succeed at that, but that's our goal every day.
But most of the time, even if it's just some peppers that was in something.
Yeah. That's our goal. And so even in a dish like this, something came from the land with that pasta sauce.
So now, once again, this is another thing that may not be what everybody does, but this is me. I always sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on top because I love that Parmesan cheese on there. It adds a nice salty bite. It gives you good browning on the cheese. Now, for another little extra kick. This is just a me thing. Me and Jason absolutely love oregano. So, I just take a little bit of oregano in my hand. And like I've told you in the spaghetti sauce video, actually, if you crush up your dried spices, it opens them up again and makes them taste more fresh. So you want to do this. That way, when you're sprinkling it, it's crushing it just a little bit. You want to crush just a little bit of oregano. over top of each one. And it gives it that little extra punch of flavor.
This is not low on flavor.
No. We don't like low flavored food around here. So now this is going to go into a 375 preheated oven for about 35 minutes. Now we're getting ready to start on our toasted orzo side dish. Now you don't want to start this the minute your chicken Parmesan goes in the oven, because literally this takes 15 minutes or less. It doesn't take no time. For those of you who may not know what orzo is,
show the box.
It's a rice-shaped pasta. See, I'll show you some in my hand. It's pasta, but it looks like rice.
Or like wheat grains or something.
And
yeah,
it cooks much faster than rice. So it's just an amazing side dish for a weeknight.
It's really good.
It goes great with any Italian food, but it also just goes great with just chicken. So what we've got in here, we've got about a tablespoon of salted butter. And orzo always, it tastes wonderful anyways, but it tastes so much better if it's toasted. So that's what we're going to do with this butter. We have our heat over about medium heat. And
that was effective. I had them turned sideways.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to dump in about a half a box for this recipe, for this preparation. And we're going to dump it all over the stove.
We'll put it on the stove while we're at it.
We're going to dump in about a half a box of your orzo. And you want to start moving it around. It's going to toast pretty fast. Once it starts toasting, you've got to keep it moving because it is going to go really fast. And it will burn really fast as well. So you want to make sure that you get it nice and toasted without burning it. And at this point, I know this sounds a little crazy, but I always add just a couple of good pinches of salt at this point. Because believe it or not, it does start imparting salt into it at this point because you are cooking it a little right here. We've been at this about 6 minutes, and as you can see,
it's hard to tell right now with that light on it.
There is just a tiny bit of tan color there. The reason you are toasting this, you get such a great toasty, nutty flavor out of it. Between that and the butter browning, you get the most amazing flavor that you won't get if you skip this step.
Yeah.
You don't want to skip the step of toasting the orzo.
Yeah.
And see, it's getting more and more brown.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, but it's there, I promise you.
And you just want to keep going until you have a nice brown.
Oh, you can see it really well.
Not black, not dark brown, just a nice warm brown. See, now we have a nice brown. We're ready to start adding our broth. Because essentially, you are kind of doing this like risotto. So now I've got 2 cups of chicken stock here. And it's going to get loud. You want to pour in about a cup. And you want to start stirring around. You want to keep it stirring. This is literally only going to take just a few minutes. You want to stir this until it absorbs all of your chicken broth. Just like you would if you're making risotto. If you've ever made risotto, this is very similar. Just takes a heck of a lot less time. And it's every bit just as delicious. Yeah.
Keep putting some more?
The minute it starts to look a little more dry, start adding a little bit more.
Put more?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
She's got her third hand over here taking care of it.
And now you just keep stirring it. And it will bring out a nice creaminess. This is why you want to continually stir. Because you want it to bring out a nice creaminess. Sorry about the banging. I have to get all the little tiny grains of orzo off your spoon.
Honestly, you guys, this really is one of my favorite pastas that she makes. You don't understand what that toasting does to it. It's a really beautiful flavor.
And along with the fact that you brown it in butter, and you start getting the toasty notes of the brown butter as well. It's just an amazing flavor.
Tell me when.
And right now, I'm going to add just a little bit more salt.
Need any more?
I will need more broth in just a minute. I'm going to add a little bit more salt, and I'm going to add just a tiny bit of pepper at this point. I will add more pepper at the end, because you don't want to add a bunch of pepper right now. Now you want to continue to stir, and see when it starts to get thick and starts to leave more of a trail. When you stir it, you know it's ready for more broth.
All of it, or
just about half that. There you go. Now we're going to keep adding and stirring, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done.
Now Angela's still working on the Orzo. We just pulled the chicken Parmesan out of the oven, and this is beautiful. It's an absolutely delicious thing, and it looks wonderful as it comes out of the oven.
Okay, it's been about 18 minutes, and as you can see, it's absorbed that whole 2 cups of broth except for just a little bit, and it's getting nice and creamy, and it's nice and done. It has a beautiful toasty flavor. Now we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of salted butter, and we're going to stir that in and make it even creamier.
Butter ain't never hurt nobody. Well,
no.
Well, maybe a little excessive butter, but there ain't gonna hurt you.
And you want to just stir it in nicely. Now we're going to add some pepper. Now you don't want to kill this with pepper, because you don't want to overpower that beautiful flavor. Now we're going to add some more magic to it. We're going to add a good sprinkling of good Parmesan cheese, and we're going to stir that in. This is deliciousness. It really is. You can't beat this. I know most people do spaghetti with their chicken Parmesan. You won't anymore after you try this.
This is the way to do it.
This just pairs perfectly with it. Look at that.
Okay, now it's time for the part that I think about all day long. Eating it. Now, look, if you don't want your cheese that brown, you could tint it once it starts to brown a little bit in the oven with some foil. We just like our cheese really brown. It's not burnt, but just really brown. I think it's better that way, so that's how we eat it. But if you don't like it, then whatever. That's your problem, not mine. Now I'm going to take a bite of this. A little chicken, a little cheese. Come on now.
Does it make you weak in the knees?
Makes you think about 19 years ago. No, that's really good. That's so good. That's so good. You can't get wrong with chicken and cheese. This Orzo. Wow.
Not low on flavor.
That's delicious. It's just, you wouldn't think pasta would taste this way. You wouldn't think you could cook it this way. You wouldn't think it tastes that way. It looks like you're eating chicken and rice, but it's not. It's chicken and probably the most flavorful pasta you can eat. It's so good. We really appreciate you guys watching this. I highly encourage everybody to make this at least once a week. But seriously, subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, share our recipes, share our videos, devotionals, chicken videos, whatever. Share them on social media pages. We really appreciate you guys' support. Thanks for watching. We love you guys. God bless you and goodbye.